friends, this is the Miss Wolfie from our half-acre homestead, and it's time to make fruit cakes. Okay, now what I have here are these are an extra large muffin, tin, and small loaf pans, and I have these for my personal size, and any leftover I'll just make in here for home use. Before I get making the batter, I am going to put some apricots here too. I'm not going to use them all because I actually like to eat some of these. I'm going to put my apricots to soak in water that I've just boiled, just to soften them up a bit. Fruit cake. Have you ever heard the expression nuttier than a fruit cake? That's what my dad used to say. Is anything you want, okay? Any amount of dried fruit and nuts that you want, make it your own, okay? What never changes is the batter recipe. This is, you can put whatever amount, as long as you got enough batter to hold the fruit and nuts together, you're good to go. This is 9 eggs, 3½ cups of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1 tablespoon of pumpkin pie seasoning, 1 pint of honey. We've only got like 3 pints left of our 2012 Homestead honey, and it had gone hard. Honey never goes bad, it just crystallizes, and all I did was sit it in a pot of hot water to soften it. 1 pound of butter, and I use salted, so you don't have to add any salt to this recipe. Now I have a ton of dried fruit. I have currants, Thompson raisins, yellow raisins, I've got prunes, which I might not use because I eat those, slivered almonds, I think this is dried papaya, and pecans, and hazelnuts. All right, so first things first, we're going to prepare our fruit, and what I want to do too is I got these from Bulk Barn. Now, I'm not big on the colored candied fruit thing, but you got to have some color in there because it is a Christmas fruit cake. And this is candied pineapples and cherries, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of hot water in there too, just so that I can rinse the syrup off, because I really don't like the syrup. Okay, so now that our apricots have been soaking, I'm going to start preparing the fruit that needs to be prepared. This was my job when I was little, when my mother was alive, and that's why I always do this. You can buy apricot pieces, candied or dried apricots all cut up, but you know what, folks? This was the one safe job I could do as a little girl that didn't require me using a knife. So cutting up the apricots was my job. And also, we slivered our own almonds. So, you know, Mom would pour boiling water over almonds like there were no shell, and then I got to slip them out of the skins, and somebody else cut them up. There's something, you know, there's so many people that say they don't like fruitcake, and I was never a big fruitcake eater, but I tell you something, if there's fruitcake in the house, I will eat it. It's just one of those things. Everyone says, I'm not big on fruitcake, except Howard. Howard hates anything to do with dried fruit. Correct, dear?
I just don't like them candied things, and I hate raisins.
Yeah, see? He doesn't like candied fruit, and he doesn't like raisins. That's pretty much what I just said. So if I made this cake with just nuts...
I do like your cake with nuts, because you have done that for me.
Well, then maybe I will make you a pecan nut cake. And yes, folks, my scissors, Howie can attest, have been sterilized in boiling water because I'm using them with food. So now I'm cutting up colored cherries. I bought them and didn't realize I had some in the cupboard, but you know what? They're candied and they're loaded with sugar. They'll keep forever. And that's one thing about fruit cakes too. I don't put alcohol in mine, folks. A lot of people, if you want to put alcohol in this, you go ahead and add, like, I don't know, half a cup of your favorite apricot brandy. And then when your cakes are all done and they're hot, glaze them with honey and say apricot brandy or anything like rum. You know, cook a quarter cup of that in with a half a pint of honey and glaze your cakes with that, and glaze them every single day all over. And that's what makes fruit cakes last forever, is the amount of sugar and the alcohol. But we're not putting sugar in ours, and we're not putting alcohol, we're putting honey, so it doesn't have the same preservative properties. So I recommend, if you're using this recipe and you're not alcoholing, I just dropped a cherry on the floor, and you're not putting alcohol in it, I advise you to freeze your fruit cakes once they're cold, because I just glaze them with honey. And here I have some candied ginger pieces that were a gift when I went to Michigan, and I am just going to very carefully sliver cut thin tiny pieces. You don't need a lot. I'm just going to put a couple of pieces of candied ginger in here. All right, just a few. All right, one more, because this is going to be a lot of cakes. So you want to make sure you get 1 or 2 pieces in each cake. Just gives it that little bit of exotic Christmas spice flavor. Let's see. Yeah, let's dump all them currants in there. And my favorite, yellow raisins. I mean, you can use just regular raisins if you want, but look at the colors we get. Like, seriously, isn't that glorious? It's Christmas in a bowl. Okay, what else have we got? Oh, Thompson raisins. And the papaya. Let's hope we have enough batter to hold all this together. See what I mean about measuring, folks? You don't need to. Slivered almonds. I'll put this aside for Daddy's cake. Hazelnuts. There's not a lot in there. We don't use walnuts because we're allergic. There's a little handful of hazelnuts for Daddy's. And broken pecans. What we use in replacement of walnuts. All right, so there is all our candied fruit and nuts. Look at that. Isn't that glorious? Okay, time to make the batter. First things first, I'm going to beat my eggs. Okay, my eggs are nice and beaten. We're going to take our butter, room temperature, and like I said, I use salted butter. If you use unsalted butter, folks, then add a teaspoon of salt to this recipe, because nothing brings out the flavor of sweet better than a little bit of salt. We are going to start creaming our butter. All right, let's start adding our honey. Pound of butter, pound of honey. It's almost a pound cake. Pound of butter, pound, oh God. Oh, the smell. Oh, I miss the smell. We're gonna get bees next year, eh? Because we're down to, this is literally liquid gold, folks. What did we get, 45 pints the last haul? And that was 6 years ago, and we're down to our last 3 pints. And I have said to Howard, until we have more bees, nobody touches that honey, it is for my baking. Look at that beautiful liquid gold. I'm gonna sit here and beat it in while I hold this jar. Okay, let's get the last of this. Oh, God, that's beautiful stuff. Nobody touches my last few pints of honey because they're for baking fruit cakes only. I no longer trust honey in the stores either, because they're getting really, really high tech at adding or bastardizing honey with other products. And now let's get our eggs in here. And we're going to slowly start beating that in. Oh, it smells so good. See, now we have pretty much equal amounts of batter and fruit and nuts. And now, dump this right into the center. Now I'm going to fold this in, but you always do it clockwise or counterclockwise. But pick one direction and stick to it. You bring it up from the bottom and fold it in. Why? Because if you don't, your fruit ends up settling into the bottom instead of thoroughly mixed through the batter. If you just squish it back and forth, it's not going to set up properly for you, I promise you. Howie, come here. I need a bigger KitchenAid is what I need. It is family tradition that if it's just Daddy and I, then that's who stirs the cake. If there's 10 people in your house, everyone has to stir at least once. This way. This way. I got it. Oh. Almost there. Thank you, dear. Now these are going into a gift box to certain family members who I'm not going to get to see this year. Grace is right here like a dirty shirt because she knows she gets to lick the bowl. You remember fruitcake, don't you, Grace? Did I even make... No, I didn't make fruitcake last year, I don't think. Last Christmas was a bloody blur, guys. Tried to get everything done, everybody visited, and then go to Florida on Boxing Day. It was it's just a blur. I have 12 of them. So now, these are really awesome pans. And 4 fruitcakes for the home. All right. You ready? What do you say?
Oh.
There you go. Okay, I did this at 300 degrees, folks, and I forgot. When these cakes are this small, you're supposed to do it at 275. And so these ones are going to end up being personal cakes for me. And I did go ahead and use a pastry brush to give these guys a glaze of honey. Okay, so even though I put water in the oven, you have to watch it really carefully because honey cooks at a lower temperature. That's why we lowered the temperature and why I should have kept it down at 275 and checked it more often. Because my little round cakes, I ate one, but I threw them out because they were just too dry. And so the 4 largest ones are going to be the ones that I send away to my family members. Hey, everyone makes mistakes. This is the Miss Wolfie from our half-acre homestead saying stay tuned because I'm going to be doing more cakes, some without nuts, some without fruit. Take care. God bless.